Welcome back to Nineworks TV. It's the first video of 2023, and to kick the year off, we've got a cracker. We're going to be looking at the best Porsches across the entire value spectrum to buy in 2023 with key input from market specialists. Let's dive in. All right then, the best Porsches to buy in 2023. I'm splitting this down into 3 different categories to ensure that everything is represented, from the humble Boxster right the way up to collector grade 918s, Carrera GTs, and everything in between, okay? Our 3 categories are as follows. The best value Porsche for under £50,000. There's a lot of choice in there, by the way. Then we're going to be looking at what is the most underrated Porsche in the marketplace currently. Again, in terms of your definition of what underrated means, there's a lot going on in there. And then we've got surefire investment. Now, importantly, these 3 questions have all been answered by key market experts. There's some amazing snippets of information coming up here that only experts can impart on the layman like you and I. Don't forget the Nineworks Marketplace is your home of quality Porsche for sale, only from reputable Porsche specialists. Okay, there's a wide variety of Porsches on there, from everyday Boxsters right up to blue chip Carrera GT investment grade cars, and literally everything in between. Check it all out at nineworks.co.uk/marketplace. How this video is going to work is I'm going to speak to each of our specialists individually to get their take on the 3 questions I've asked, okay? We'll start with Greg and Alex at RPM Technik. Cars to buy in 2023. 3 categories. We're all eager to hear what you guys think. Okay. Let's start with best Porsche for 50k, because there's lots of choice in there.
Yeah, Al, do you want to kick off?
A 901 Gen 1 C2S. That is just such a good all-rounder. Whether you have some for your special Sunday car or your daily driver, that just, wonderful thing.
I'd echo that with Al. I think that looks like a lot of car for the money. I also think a 981 GTS, Cayman, looks great, sounds good. Yep. Running costs are very, very low. You can still put a Porsche warranty on them for 600 quid, can't you? So,
ooh, yeah, okay,
good value.
Great shout, yeah.
And I reckon they're probably the best sounding modern Porsche with a stock exhaust that you can buy. And also, realistically, what are they, 340 horsepower, 350 horsepower? You don't need more than that on the road, and they can do the occasional track day. It's kind of a low risk sort of purchase. And then the other one, which isn't low risk, but is quite good, very good, I think, for that money, is 997 Gen 2 C2Ss. We don't sell that many of them anymore. Just the prep costs can be high, and that's where the risk comes. But I think as a same sort of reason Val said the 901, they can do everything. They're really nice to drive. The 6-speed manual in them is just peak. It's so good. And they're kind of underground, you know. A lot of people wouldn't even pay any attention to them, and I kind of quite like that.
Yeah, and last a small 911 as well. I always think 997s have had a bit of a resurgence over the last couple of years, and I think that's just because they suit the UK road better than 991 does.
Let's move on to underrated. Again, like what cars do you think, gents, are particularly underrated in the Porsche market currently at the start of 2020?
We had one each here, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Cayman R for me. Yeah. I still look at them and think they should be a lot more money than they actually are. If you wanted to have a cruiser spec, PDK, comfy seats, if you wanted more of a track focus spec, you can get the manual, sports exhaust, buckets. It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I actually think they drive a little bit sweeter than a lot of the stuff around the same sort of values.
And they're limited numbers, you know, they didn't limit them numbers, but there's not that many of them, which makes it quite special, so it's underrated from that point of view. And then, I mean, the thing is, anyone who owns any of the cars that you mentioned will go, hang on, that's not underrated, I know it's brilliant. But I think sometimes they just don't get the accolades because, you know, the press are always writing about anything with a GT on the front of it or a limited production car. But it's one that we sell a lot of, and then whenever someone buys them, they always go, God, this car is great. It's a 2nd gen GTS 991s, so the 3-litre turbo engine. I think they're a good looking car, and you know, from a cold and commercial point of view, they're easy to buy and sell, which also comes into it because certain models aren't. But I just think their appeal is wide, they drive lovely. Okay, they're not naturally aspirated, but on the road,
if you're willing to modify it as well.
Yeah.
We just sold a manual GTS with 500 horsepower, and it was like
wild,
ridiculous. Yeah.
They're underrated because they're not a GT model.
So last one is the blue chip investment, really. It's kind of a question I don't really like to ask, but I think it's worth it because people watching may well be in that position.
It's one of those things that whenever you're somewhere, people ask you about it because they find it interesting and they want to know. I mean, I think we were talking about this before you came down. I think like dead certs, and kind of sometimes they get overlooked when people ask us this question, is if you can buy anything brand new that's limited run. And it goes without saying, but if you are one of the lucky few that can get a 992 RS, you're straight away making some money. So if you're looking at it from a pure investment point of view, I think that's a no-brainer. So GT3 RS, GT4 RS. There's talk that 992 RSs will be going for potentially something with a 4, maybe up to 5, for £100,000. Which, if that's true, it makes the current crop of 991 RSs look very good value for money relatively in the context of what we're talking about, because anywhere between 100 and realistically 150 to 160ish for a Gen 1, 170ish, that's not half the car, and it will probably lap within a few seconds of the 992, but for 200 and whatever £1,000 less, that looks almost too good value for money. But I think it won't be purely the monetary side of it. I think people will look at the relative speed of both of the cars, and then the cars that are available will then dry up because people go, well, I can't actually get one, or I'm not paying $450 for a 992 RS. I'm going to buy a 991 RS, and then I think the pool of cars will decrease, and then just simple economics, it'll probably could pull the prices up.
And there's also the fact of tracking a £400,000 car is a massively different proposition to tracking a £170,000 car.
It'll be interesting in 12 months' time when you come back here, and we should revisit what we said today and then see if I was right. But that was my one, so it's a bit of a curveball.
Yeah, I thought 993, anything with an S, C4S, C2S.
If you're not going to go for outright speed, the next one is arguably looks and noise. And I agree with Al, because the 993 is such a good looking platform and they sound lovely. And actually, when you drive them, they've kind of got that real nice blend between old and new in that, 6-speed box, I think they called it the LSA rear axle, whatever it is on them. So it's a really comfortable ride, but you've got that kind of air-cooled coolness to it. If you look at cars to put some money into, they didn't build lots of them. That is a really, really nice alternative.
Brilliant advice from Alex and Greig at RPM Technik. Some great insight there, and really nice to see the mid-engined Porsche platform well represented there as well. Let's crack on. We're next going to Will at Philip Raby Sports Cars to get his take on our 3 categories of the Porsches to buy for 2023. You want to start with the 50k choice?
For me, I think 50k, the 991, the early 991s are just coming under that threshold now. That is so much car for the money. And you're not just talking sort of high mileage dogs either. Similar money to a Gen 2 997, which I think it goes to show how good value they are, because you get a lot more. And I think a lot of people say that the 997 was the last sort of real 911. That's quite a common line that's used, but I think that's a bit unfair. I mean, there's a very real 911 feel about the 997, and it is great. But I think the 991 is so refined actually as a car, a modern car that people are going to use as a daily driver. You get everything.
Underrated Porsche?
For me, 3.2 Carrera. It probably won't be everyone's first thought on what's underrated. But I think when you compare it to its, air-cooled counterparts, it's a good value. And I think the 3.2 sort of sits in the middle as a bit of a, no one really knows what to think of it. Everybody either wants an SC or wants a 964 or 993. The 3.2 with the 915 box is a real excellent car.
Yeah. Well, something that you said to me off camera, which I think is worth mentioning as well, regards to those 3.2 Carreras being underrated, was the maintenance side. Yeah,
the maintenance side. I mean, the 964 servicing, and again with the 993s, the actual service on them is a little more expensive. The 964's got 12 spark plugs, which is quite intense, and 12 spark plugs that are hard to get to, and they're just easier to get to on the 3.2. So it is slightly cheaper servicing as well. And actually, if you get a car that's well sorted, you get a lot of value there, and they're not expensive to look after. And when you get into particularly the water cooled stuff as well, there are issues that can rise that cause problems. The air cooled stuff, in particular the 3.2, is just so simple.
So like surefire investment for the future. You're going to go in with 996.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
My real main point with the 996 is not just the fact that they're in the the bottom of their depreciation curve and have been for a while, and are starting to come back up. But actually it's things like import laws. So Australia have a new law, and it used to sit at 1989, where cars older than 1989, so people were very keen for sort of early 964s.
Okay.
You used to be able to import out to Australia. Now, they've changed, out of 2019, they've changed it to a rolling 25 years. So as I think possibly if you're 996 and a lot of 996s, they're now getting to that 25 years old, where Australians are thinking, excellent, they have nothing out there like it. They don't have 996s, they have 991s and newer. They don't have the older stuff, so they're sort of going to start hoovering up. They're jumping on the 996 train. And with every year that goes by, that's going to open up the floodgates to the later 996s and the GT cars. And the 993s, they've been having 993s, you know, we've sold a couple of 993s there, we've sold some 968s. I don't think that's huge news over there. You know, it's just like the 964 and Singer. You know, if you're trying to find a nice C2 coupe manual 964, they're hen's teeth.
That was Will providing his insight on the cars to buy in 2023 across the key categories. Maybe there's a load of 996s off to Australia. Mine won't be one of them. Let's move on to our third and final expert for this video. It's Henry Thomas at Lakeside Classics to give his intel and insights on our three categories.
Okay, so the best Porsche that you can buy for up to 50k, my vote would go for the 997 Gen 1 Turbo. In the automatic, you can just get it for about 50k. I honestly believe you buy a lower mileage one, have it for a year, you'll get back what you paid for it, so it's free motoring. The only thing I would do is change the PCCM system, so you would have Apple CarPlay.
Category 2 was underrated. So which is the most underrated Porsche you think in the market currently?
996 era still, Carrera 2 or Carrera 4, then you're just getting a huge amount of car for your money, aren't you? There, if you buy one that's been looked after properly, then wow, what a lot of car for the money. I still think the 997s as well. I love the sound of the Gen 1s compared to the Gen 2s. So yeah, that would be coming in number 2.
Then we're going to go to the other end of the market completely here. So we're going to talk about like nailed on blue chip investment. A great car to buy in 2023 is...
Okay, so for a longer term blue chip investment, my number one, not surprisingly, would be a 997 GT3 RS4 litre. It's the last of the Mezger engines. It's a true collector's car. It's made in limited numbers, so only 600 made. From then on, all the Porsches that have been produced, they've made a tremendous amount compared to that. The other 997s, you had the Sport Classic, where they made 250, or the Speedster, which I think they made 356. But I think with collectability, blue chip going forward, that is the car to own, because it's just incredibly, you know, sought after performance car. Going forward, I think it'll be a tremendous investment.
Brilliant. Yeah, there's something you said to me as well for a different car off camera.
I said if I got two cars, if somebody gave me £2 million to go and buy some cars and keep for 10 years, then the other one would be a Carrera GT. Yeah, because again, it's just very unique. Like the 4 litre, you know, the 4 litre is manual, the new RSs aren't manual, so it just makes it even more special, and as newer cars have been produced, it has become more unique. The Carrera GT still stands out as, you know, V10 engine. There's nothing that's ever going to be built like it again, and I think it will become more and more special with time. Values have already gone up hugely over the last few years, but I think if their 40s climb, I just can see those values keep climbing too.
And there's the expert knowledge on the best Porsches to buy in 2023, covering best Porsche for up to £50,000, surefire investment, and the most underrated Porsche right now. What do you think? Pop your opinion in the comments below, they're always welcome. Thanks for watching IMX TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It means when we drop a video, you get to see it first. And we'll see you in another video soon.